So, my name is Devon L. Ruiz, and we are the Group 3. And now, we're going to tackle about the Chapter 7, the Psychology of Crisis Management Decisions. So, what is psychology of crisis management decisions? So, from the word psychology, it is a study of the uh, it is the study of the cognitive, emotional, and social factors influencing decision making during crisis situations. So, from the word cognitive, kay it is all about the thinking, their knowledge, and understanding, especially the thoughts, mga something reasoning like that. So, crisis management is an aspect of crisis intervention and is the systematic attempt to avoid organizational crisis or to manage those crisis events to occur according to Person and Clear 1988. So, according to Person and Clear 1998, um, uh, crisis management is a systematic approach to prevent, prepare, and respond to and recover from crisis. So included also here there the avoidance, preparations, response, and the recovery. So uh, these are the four phases of crisis management according to Person and Clear 1998. So next is the crisis events are unpredictable. They are not unexpected, according to Coombs 1999. So, according to Coombs 1999, yes. Why? Because crisis events are often unpredictable, meaning their timing or specifics can't be precisely forecasted. However, they are not entirely unexpected. From the word unexpected, no prior warnings, like kanang mga no prior warnings, or mga indication, and like for example, unpredictable kay mga natural risk disasters, something like that. So crisis can affect all segments of society: businesses, churches, educational institutions, families, non-profits, and the government, and are caused by a wide range of reasons. So these are the four types of organizational crisis. First is the sudden crisis. Sudden crisis, it is like for example, kana bang mga natural resources like fires, explosions, mga kanang mga workplace violence ba, something like that. And next is the smoldering crisis. So what is smoldering crisis? So smoldering crisis, a crisis that develop gradually, often unnoticed until it becomes severe. So kana bang mga unnoticed nga mga crisis, no, like for example ana niya kay kanang mga kalit lang nga fire nya kanang bitang problems or issues start out small and could be fixed or averted if someone was paying attention or recognized the potential for trouble, like kanang mga ingon ana ba. Next is the bizarre. uh Bizarre, a crisis characterized by unusual or unaffected events. So example gyapon ng mga natural risk disasters. Next is the perceptual crisis. Perceptual crisis, a crisis affecting how information is perceived, interpreted, or understood. So, such as long-running problem Procter and Gamble used to have with their former corporate logo that included a half moon and stars, which critics claim were symbols of devil worship, calling for the boycotts and P&G products according to Smith and Miller 2002. A framework of crisis management and crisis management planning. The United Kingdom's Department of Business, Enterprise, and Regulatory Reform 2008 describes a crisis as an abnormal situation or event perception which is beyond the scope of the everyday business and which threatens the operation safety and reputation of an organization. Of course, kay matawag yun na ganang ang crisis kay abnormal situation, no, like kay dili man jud nato sila mahibaw-an kung kanos maabot and kanang unexpected jud kay nga mga panghitabo ba. So uh, kanang I included here also the example of a framework that are related to the psychology of crisis management decisions. So, first is the assess threats to organization. So, to understand, down to develop a crisis management plan, to test crisis management plan, and to monitor threats and review the crisis management plan. Then, down na po sa assess threats to organization. So, to understand this framework, I included this is related to the psychology of crisis management. Decisions from the assist threats. These are the natural disasters. Arin na sad mag-conduct og kanang mga risk assessment. Next, down to develop crisis management plan, which is this is to create a comprehensive plan such as to define crisis scenarios and establish crisis management team to identify the roles and their responsibility. So, also to develop response strategies. Next is to test the crisis management plan. Ari na mahibaw-an kung possible ba nga mabuhat nila if the crisis will come, such as they conduct training session, mga something like that ba nga ma-ready bitaw sila if the crisis mahitabo in case. So, next is the monitor threats and review crisis management plan. So, after nila nga matest na ang crisis management plan kay i-monitor na nila ilahan ng i-try og kanang check na nila ila na nang i-review kung if the crisis will come kay kanang successful ba na ang ilahang gibuhat nga plan. So, next is the irrespective of the size of an organization affected, the primary aims or benefits of crisis management would normally include first, the ability to assess the situation from inside and outside the organization as all stakeholders might perceive it. Of course, kay kanang as a part of the organization kay it is their responsibility nga ilahang ma-assess ba para bitaw nga if the crisis will come kay makuha ra na nila ma-resolve nila. Then next is the techniques to direct action to contain the likely or perceived spread. Third is a more effective way to rapidly trigger that part or parts of business continually management. Fourth, better organizational resilience for stakeholders. Fifth, compliance with regulatory and ethical requirements, corporate social responsibility. Six, much better management for serious incidents or any incident that could become serious. Seven, improve staff awareness of the rules and expectations within the organization. Eight, increased ability, confidence, and morale within the organization. Nine, enhance risk management and so far that obvious risks will be identified, mitigated, and through crisis and business continuity management as prepared for. So last is protected and often enhanced reputation as much reduced risk or point even litigation.
A crisis management model is the conceptual framework for all aspects of preparing for, preventing, coping with, and recovering from a crisis. By reviewing events through a model, crisis management managers gain context and can be better applied for best practices. Gonzalez Herrero and Pat created the four phases crisis management model process that includes issues management, planning prevention, crisis, and post crisis. Issues management is a proactive process of identifying, analyzing, and addressing potential problems or concerns that could develop into significant crises if left unattended. The goal of issue management is to detect early signs of duress such as public dissatisfaction, operational inefficiencies, or external threats and resolve them before they escalate. Planning prevention involves creating strategies and measures to anticipate and minimize risks or problems before they occur. It includes setting objectives, identifying potential challenges, and implementing actions to ensure safety and success. Crisis refers to actively managing and responding to an unexpected urgent situation by implementing immediate actions to minimize harm, restore stability, and address the issue effectively as it unfolds. Post crisis involves analyzing the events after a crisis, identifying what went wrong, and assessing the response's effectiveness. It includes learning from the experience, improving plans, and implementing measures to prevent similar situations in the future. So examples of this is the hurricane in the resort. So the first they will do is monitors weather forecast and identifying hurricanes. It begins planning and preparing for natural disaster to minimize their impact. And then the result develop into the planning prevention. The resort develops disaster protocols, train staff, and install weather monitoring system to address the identifying risk. And to the crisis is when a hurricane strikes, the resort activates its plans, evacuates guests, and manages the situation in real time. The post-crisis is after the hurricane, the resort evaluates its response, adjusts its protocols, and strengthens its planning to address the similar risks more effectively in the future. So after the post-crisis, as a monitoring, they will evaluate the the protocols if ang uban kay nakuha ba nila like effective ba sa risk nga nailang na naagian ang uban sad nga protocols nga wala nila na gamit kay lahatong tagtahon ang dili sa nila og bag-o. This theory examines how communication flows in an organization, especially during a crisis. It emphasizes having a clear communication structure so information is shared accurately and efficiently to help the organization stay resilient. This theory by Everett Rogers focuses on how new ideas and information spread within an organization. In a crisis, it's important that everyone understands and adopts the latest strategies for responding, ensuring that the organization handled the crisis effectively. So when a crisis management app is introduced to improve communication with travelers and tour companies use this theory to train employees on how to use it and spread the information across the organization. By adopting this technology, the company ensures everyone is informed during the emergencies, allowing for a faster and more coordinated response.
Crisis management success stories. So first is the Tylenol crisis in 1982 and 1986 and Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson is a company known for its wide-range healthcare products and medical devices. It is one of the largest and most recognizable companies in the healthcare industry. Tylenol is an over-the-counter pain reliever and fever reducer with acetaminophen, also known as paracetamol. The question is, why is it Johnson & Johnson having this kind of crisis, and what's the reason? So, Tylenol crisis occurred because someone tampered with Tylenol bottles, lacing the capsules with cyanide, which led to poisoning and tragic deaths of 7 people. So, the cyanide is a highly toxic chemical compound that can be lethal or deadly in small amounts. Due to its potency, cyanide has a historical been used in poisoning, which is why it was such a dangerous substance in the Tylenol case. And this tampering wasn't due to any fault in Johnson & Johnson manufacturing process, the Tylenol product itself. Instead, the bottles were tampered with after they had already been placed on the store shelves, meaning someone intentionally altered them in stores. Johnson & Johnson responded quickly, recalling 31 million capsules at a huge cost of 100 million and introducing tamper-resistant. The company's CEO, James Burke, was transparent, appearing on TV to inform the public, which helped restore trust. In 1986, Johnson & Johnson faced another crisis in Tylenol when a new case of cyanide poisoning was reported, killing a woman in New York. In the 1986 case, suggested that someone has again tampering with Tylenol capsules after they were stocked on store shelves. In response, Johnson & Johnson take immediate action. They stopped all Tylenol advertise, issued a national warning, and provide refunds to customers who had bought Tylenol capsules. The company also set up a free hotline for concerns customers and permanent shift from capsules to solid caplets, which are harder to tamper with. The proactive and transparent approach once again helped restore company trust and reinforce their commitment to safety. The second crisis management success stories is the Udwala Foods in 1986. In 1986, Udwala's unpasteurized apple juice goes on E. coli and break off affecting 49 people and resulting in one death. So the E. coli is refers to the sudden increased case in illness caused by bacteria. E. coli is a common type of bacteria found in environment, human intestine, and chemical feces and animal feces. So, Odwala's open accountable response and commitment to improving safety help them rebound customers' trust after the crisis. So the response of the Odwala is acted quickly, recalling all potentially affected products within 24 hours and collaborating with health authorities to manage the outbreak. The company publicly apologized, took full responsibility, and actively communicated about E. coli symptoms and safety precautions to prevent future contamination. Odwalas later introduced a pasteurization process for their juice. The last crisis management success stories is the Mattel Incorporation in 2007. Mattel's 2007 crisis happened because some of their toys were unsafe for kids. Many toys were found to have dangerous levels of lead paint, which can be toxic, and others had small magnets that could come loose and be swallowed, causing serious health risk. The issue stemmed from Mattel's use of factories in China to produce many of their toys. Unfortunately, some of these factories didn't follow strict safety standards, leading to the use of unsafe materials. Mattel didn't catch this problem in the time, and the toys ended up on store shelves. As a result, the company faced a public relations crisis, recalling over 21 million toys and dealing with intense media scrutiny. This incident highlights the need for stricter safety checks and outsourcing and led to the tighter regulations in the toy industry to prevent similar issues.
Buffalo disaster showed how crucial cross-cultural communication is in crisis management. Poor communication cost thousands of lives, and essential information was often lost due to language barrier and mismanagement. And next, Ford and Firestone. In Ford and Firestone, the crisis that companies essentially blame a consumer and each other rather than addressing the issue, leading to over 100 deaths. This highlighted the importance of taking responsibly and clearly communicating during a crisis. Exxon. The Exxon Valdez oil spill exposed major flaws in Exxon's crisis management, including a lack of communication plans and public relations strategies. The company's slowed and defensive response, the environmental and public relations and impact.
So, what is public sector crisis management? So, public sector crisis management is the application of management principles to handle crises or emergencies within government agencies and organizations. It involves a systematic approach to prevent, prepare, respond, and recover from crises that can impact public safety, health, and well-being. For example, a strong typhoon hits coastal city, causing widespread flooding, and power outage. So crisis management response, sa wala pa daw ang bagyo, the local government has already conducted pre-disaster drills and involves residents in emergency preparedness meetings. So they also nag-prepare daw sila sa mga evacuation centers and mga relief goods.
A brief description of the 5 facets of crisis leadership includes: first, sense-making is an important part of figuring out a situation before making a decision. So, ang sense-making di ay, kaya mao ni siyang pinaka-importante nga part aron ma-figure nimo ang situation before ka mohimo og decision. So, it's about understanding what is happening, gathering information, and also interpreting it so you can choose the best action. So, second is, decision-making involves 2 main parts. So, ang decision-making di ay kay nag-involve siya duha ka main parts, which are first, kanang choosing what to do or kanang coming to a decision. Yeah, second kay putting the choice into action. So, imo na i-implement ang decision. So, it's not just about deciding, it's also about making sure that the decision is carried out. So third is involves understanding and interpreting a situation. So especially during a crisis, no, kanang and also kanang ma-relate gani siya sa kanang mga political leaders kung saan nila kanang makikommunicate during such times. So in other words, kanang it's about leader explain what is happening and shape people's understanding to manage crisis effectively. So fourth is, so kanang para gani ma-resolve ang crisis, so public leaders need to effectively address issues of responsibility and blame. So if leaders clearly explain who is accountable for the crisis and take responsibility when necessary, it helps build trust and confidence among the public. So last is, although crisis can provide opportunities for learning and improvement, the actual lessons that organizations or leaders take away from them are often limited. So, many times kay kanang kita nga mga tao kay kanang di man jud nato ma-fully analyze kung unsa ang nahitabo nya, kanang ma-fail ganitag kanang kausab kanang dili nato makuha ng kausaban. So kanang which can prevent kanang maka-prevent gani sa to nga kung unsa atong nasayop sa kani nga crisis kay maka-learn ta sa atong na-experience. So examples of organization crisis kay first is extortion. So ang extortion kay threats made to an organization to obtain money or services, often involving the release of damaging information. So second is bribery, offering something of value to influence the actions of an official or other person in charge. So third is hostile and takeover. So ang hostile and takeover kay an attempt to acquire a company against the wishes of its management. So fourth is terrorist attack. So a violent act intended to instill fear or coerce. So fifth kay copyright infringement. So unauthorized use of someone else's copyrighted material. Sixth kay vehicular fatality, a serious accidental incident involving a company vehicles that results in death. So 7 is information sabotage, deliberate interference with information systems or data integrity. So 8 is workplace bombing, a terrorist act involving explosives in the workplace. 9 is natural disaster office, events like earthquakes or floods that physically damage or destroy. So 10 is computer tampering. So unauthorized manipulation of a company's computer systems, potentially leading to data breaches or operational failures. So kanang 11 is sexual harassment. So inappropriate behavior of a sexual nature in the workplace. So 12 kay natural disaster service, events that hinder an organization's ability to provide services or products, affecting customer satisfaction and revenue. So 13 kay executive kidnapping. So, the abduction of high-level executives for ransom or leverage. 14 kay product or service boycott. A collective refusal to purchase a company's product, often due to ethical concerns. So 15 kay work-related homicide, act of violence resulting in death within the workplace. 16 kay malicious rumor, false information spread about an organization. So 17 kay hazardous material leak. So accidental release of dangerous substance. So 18 kay plant explosion, a catastrophic event in a manufacturing facility resulting in injury. So 19 is personal assault, physical attacks on employees. 20 is assault of customers, incidents where customers are harmed on company premises. 21 is product recall, the removal of defective products from the market. 22 is counterfeiting, the production and sale of fake versions of a company's products. So 23 is natural disaster corporate, severe events that obliterate the main office, disrupting operations and communications. And last is natural disaster stakeholders, disaster that lead the loss of key stakeholders, affecting decision making.
4 ways people process information during a crisis. So we simplify messages under intense stress and possible information overload. We tend to miss the nuances of health and safety messages by doing the following. First, not fully hearing information because of our inability to juggle multiple facts during a crisis. Next, not remembering as much of the information as we normally could. And lastly, misinterpreting confusing action messages. So the first one, use simple messages. So in a crisis, if we disseminate the information, it should be clear and understandable to help reduce confusion and ensure that people understand what actions they need to take. For example, when authorities instruct people to evacuate, they need to keep the message simple. Don't overwhelm them with complex instructions. Next, messages should come from a credible source. Trust is the key during a crisis. People will seek confirmation before taking action, often turning to multiple sources to validate information. So dapat jud nga daghan kag sources nga mapangitaan if it is reliable or credible sources. Kaya mostly no, if na a crisis like, for example, bagyo, then daghan na bitaw mag-post bisag unsa na lang ilang gibutang or post, so dapat yun yung mangita taglaing sources para mas reliable jud siya. So the next one, use consistent messages. During a crisis, conflicting or changing information can create panic or mistrust. Consistency in messaging helps to reduce confusion and ensure that everyone is on the same page. If different sources are saying different things, people may become unsure of what action to take, and misinformation or rumors can spread quickly. And lastly, release accurate messages as soon as possible. In a crisis, quickly releasing accurate information is vital to prevent harm and misinformation. Timely updates reduce confusion, build public trust, and ensure responders can coordinate effectively. Early communication helps people make informed decisions and prepares the community to manage the situation, demonstrating transparency and control in the response. That's all. Thank you.